How's everybody doing? My name is Warner. I'm here on behalf of Selena, and she wanted me to give you guys some advice as far as finances goes. So I'll give you my 2 seconds here, and just to give you guys a little bit of more of my background. In the last 5 years, I've been able to buy a business, sell a business. I've been going into the sales field because I felt like I needed some help to become better in the sales field. So I jumped into it. I've been a salesman for about 3 years now. In those 3 years, I was able to be salesman of the month for the first year, about 4 times in that year. And now I'm a sales manager, so I've been able to manage a team, and what I'm privileged about. And just to give you guys a little bit of the finances, I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things that we are brought up with, and what will be the difference in between the rich and the poor. Now, when I'm saying rich and poor, I'm not saying only financially, but mentally. I believe that anything that you want to change in your life, first it has to start from your mind. So in order for me to give you guys some about finances, I would like to give you a little bit of more of the basic stuff in order to change up your mentality and see your finances in a different way. Now, one thing that pretty much in the Latino culture, and more in the poor mentality type of mind, we all brought up with the same mentality, which is go to school, get good grades so you can go to college, get a degree so you can get a job. From there, you're gonna save enough in order to retire whenever you're 50, 60 years old, whenever you plan to retire. Now, the difference in between that mentality and the mentality that the rich have is completely opposite from each other. Now, there's no right or wrong. I always have that thought in my head. There's only opposite from each other. Now, the mentality of the rich and the poor is not different. It's not completely, well, it's completely different. It's completely opposite from each other, but it's not right or wrong. So that's why we put here left and right, because there's no right and wrong. There's only left and right, opposite. Now, going based on our mentality, on the left hand side, we have more of the poor mindset, what people really think as far as the finances goes. So in order, what we all brought up with is, like I said, go to school, get a job, and save. The difference between, on the poor mentality, going for a job, the difference in between is going to be starting a business. Now, the difference in between those two is when where you have a job, you're trading your time for money. The difference in between that and a business, in a business you have no cap. What I mean with that is that 1 month you are able to make $2,000. The next month or after a year, you can actually scale that business to make $40,000-$50,000 a month. You have no caps in between on how much you can make. In a job, you're capped at whatever you're gonna make, depending on what kind of degree you have. So you're only able to sustain your family. Sometimes they say on a study that I believe 98% of the Americans, only on the middle class, they are able only to save 1 to 5% of their income, which around that standard, it's about 50,000 or less on a yearly basis, which means they're not saving a lot. So in the other realm of the business side, you're able to see that the more money you have coming in, you're able to save more. And we can go more into depth and in that subject if you guys want to come to another event, and we're gonna give you more information after. But the difference in between these two is that you're trading in your time for money. Over here, you have pretty much whatever time you put in, you are able to make as much as you want, and that's the biggest difference. Okay. The second thing is a degree and knowledge. Now, like I said, you go to school, you get a degree, and then you go get a job. The difference between the degree is only a piece of paper. So you go to school for 4 years. I've seen a study that says that 95% of the people that actually come out of college don't even know their own field, which means that they come with a degree saying that they are financial advisors, let's say in this case, and most of the time they don't even know the basics of their of their um, of their degree or their field they're going into. So the difference in between there and knowledge, in knowledge you can say that you can go up to a person that is, in that example, it's a financial advisor and has been doing it for 10 or 15 years. You can actually learn from them, or you can, sometimes books will give you a lot of information as far as like what you need to know in whatever field you need to talk about. So the difference between a degree and knowledge is that you're going to school for a degree that is really not teaching you the most important things about life. The knowledge, on the other hand, you're able to learn from other people. You're able to cut the learning curve and shorten out the term. So like if somebody's been in business for, let's say, 10 or 15 years, you're able to, if they are able to show you what they know, you can cut those 15 years up to maybe a year or 5 years, which means that you're going to be more successful faster. Okay. Now, going based on savings and investing, now the difference between that is, like I said, we're always told to go get a job and save enough in order to for us to retire. The only problem with that is if nobody's really saving at the end of the month, that there is no way for you to be saving in order to retire. So it's going to take a long time for you to retire. That's the first thing. Second thing is going to be that right now all of the retirement plans, which is 401ks, traditional IRAs, most of the plans that have been in the market have failed to the people that are contributing to them, which means that all the money that they put into it, they actually have lost it. And instead, on the other side, if you're investing, that means that you're putting your money into something that is going to give you a return. Now, if you put, let's say you put $100,000 into something that is going to give you a return, then you are able to put strategies to get your money to work for you, instead of putting the money away and hoping that somebody else is going to make it work for you. So the knowledge, and this is the same side, the knowledge of investing will be something that it will be really critical in order for you to come into life prepared and knowing what you need to do and the right steps in order to retire whenever you're able to retire. Now the last thing is debt and leverage. We always thought on our side, on the poor mentality side, is that whenever we obtain a $5,000 credit card, we all want to go crazy. We want to buy the $100 shoes. We want to buy the rims that we always wanted to get for our car. The only problem with that is that we are putting money into something that depreciates. So in the next 2 years, if you buy, let's say, some rims for your car that you always wanted, you're paying $2,000 with the credit card. The only problem is that the bank is actually charging you an interest on that. And 2 years after, whenever you want to get rid of them, the rims are not going to be worth $2,000. They're going to be worth less. So you're losing money on top of money. But instead, if you actually use the debt to leverage something, which means to buy something that is going to give you a return, you're buying for a small amount, you're buying a big asset. Which means that, let's say for those $5,000, it's not going to happen here in the Bay Area in this example because the prices for everything is ridiculous. But let's say you're in another state and you are able to put $5,000 down to buy a house, then that means that you're actually using debt in order to acquire something that is going to go up in value, and you're acquiring, let's say, a $50,000, $80,000 house for something that you can just swipe a card with and use that debt in order to leverage a place to live. And on top of that that place you can use it to live in there, and you can make some money on the meantime. So that's a couple of things that we're talking. To give you more background as well, I'll give you, we need to understand exactly where money came from and why it was made. So back in the cave days, people were trading things. So let's say somebody was a hunter and they had a spear, and for any reason they needed a coat for the winter. They will go to another person and trade whatever they have. So let's say in that case they will trade the spear for their bear coat, let's say. So people started trading things for whatever they needed in their life. Now that became kind of inconvenient because you really didn't know what was the value of the spear or what was the real value of the coat. So what happened then, people started mining precious metals, which was like gold and silver. Now they put a value into gold. Now in that same transaction, if the spear was 3 gold coins, you put the value to it, then you're able to give me 3 gold coins, and then I'll give you the spear, right? But then more time passed by, and they started seeing that the gold was really inconvenient as well because it was heavy. People were getting robbed left and right. So what humans invented after that was a paper note, kind of like an IOU. So instead, in this same transaction, you want to buy the spear, so you give 3, and you tell the person, okay, it's worth 3 gold coins. We'll give them an IOU with all my information. That note will have all my information. Now, by the end of the day, the person will come to my house, okay, collect the 3 gold coins that I had saved up, and they will be in a safe place, put away, and I will get the IOU back, which means the transaction was done. That still was a little bit more, that was still inconvenient. So what they started doing, putting all the gold into the bank. Now the bank will give you notes in order, which are the dollar bills you have in your pocket nowadays, and you were able to trade it around for whatever you needed in your everyday life. Now the only problem with that is that everything was backed up by gold. So actually that's not the problem, but the problem comes after. Everything that we had before, around the 1940s, the banks would actually have the same amount of money out there, paper money, compared to the reserves they had in the banks of gold. So like, let's say the government was printing $1 million of paper money. That means that they had $1 million worth of gold saved up in the banks. So every dollar you had in your pocket was backed up by gold, by a certain amount of gold. The only problem with that is that around the 1970s, the government actually got off the gold standard, which means that there was nothing to back up those paper notes anymore. And the government went crazy and started just printing money after money after money, which means that, let's say there was $1 million worth of gold, but now the government is just printing millions and millions and millions and millions of paper money, which means in that case that your money just keeps dropping down in value. And the only problem with that, if you see it, let's say about 10 years ago, you were able to buy a cup of coffee for maybe $1. Right now you can buy it for $4, $5, $6, depending on where you go. It doesn't mean that the same amount, the same measurement, the same cup of coffee, it takes more resources or takes more labor in order to make it. What really means is that your money is actually going down in value. So the same amount, the same cup of coffee, now you need more dollars to buy the same amount because the value of your dollar just keeps depreciating, just keeps going down. So the real reason why money was made is to be trading, okay? So if you actually have money in your pocket, you need to figure out a way in order to get something that is going to make you more money, in order to trade something that is going to be valuable. The problem is, like I said, it's on the poor side and on the poor mentality, we always are thinking about buying stuff that we are there that is going to depreciate. Like I said, shoes, rims, cell phones. Sometimes you can, I mean, you can have them for a year, and nowadays, you know, a cell phone keeps just popping up every 6 months. So whatever phone you have right now, in a year it's not going to be worth the same. So you're putting money, and then it's just depreciating. It's just taking it out of the equation. The value is gone. So you're losing money on top of money. Now another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is about savings in this side and the investing side. So let's say in one scenario you're putting $100,000 in the bank today. Okay, in 10 years you're able to get the money out. You're not losing anything, you're not gaining anything, you just get $100,000 out of the bank. The only problem with that is the saving part means that you just kept the same amount of money. The problem is that that depreciation of value going down on your dollar. Now the 100,000 is not going to be able to buy the same amount that you're buying today. That your value for the dollar that you're spending is going to be different. Your buying power is going to be a lot lower in 10 years, which means savings is not a good thing unless you're really thinking about saving to invest. And if you have $1,000 you invest and you save it, in a year it's gonna be worth less. So it means that savings is not a good thing. But if you have $1,000 and you invest it, and there's 1,000 things you can invest: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, houses, real estate. There's a bunch of stuff that you can actually invest in. So if you put money, let's say those $1,000 right now, in a year it's able to appreciate because you're buying something that appreciates throughout time. Then that means that $1,000 is actually growing, which means that even though the value of your money is going down, the amount of money that you're getting is a lot more. So you are able to leverage the money that you have. Okay, so that's just one perspective of how to look at things, how the poor and the rich actually teach their kids to see the world, because we're always brought up on this side, saying that we always have to get a job, a really high paying job. But nowadays the value of the money just keeps going down. And the difference between the rich, if you guys know the guy that actually invented Snapchat, the kid became the fastest billionaire in history. This guy is 27 years old. He sold Snapchat, I believe it was for over $1 billion. So he's a billionaire now. He doesn't have to worry about going to work or what he's gonna do to retire whenever he's 50 or 60. On this side, we're always worried about what are we going to do with the money, what are we do with our paychecks, because we need to retire in 40 or 50 years. But this guy, he was brought up by two lawyers. Both of his parents were lawyers, and they had a really good mentality, and the stuff that they showed him was to start a business and not look for a job. Nowadays he doesn't have to worry about anything. He can retire tomorrow and he'll be fine. He won't have a problem. $1 billion is enough for him to live and probably more generations to come. So that's the difference in between these two. It's all about your mentality, what you think about your money, and what you're doing with your money on an everyday basis. There's a lot of things that you can do with your money. Like I said, we'll go in another session. We'll show you more stuff in other sessions as well. I believe she wants to do more of a live kind of events. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. And if you guys have any questions, you can actually send it over to her, and I'll be more than glad to answer all your questions. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you